If you have or you are going through the motions and you just feel lost at your current job, then hopefully this video will be encouraging. I think we all want to find something to do with our lives that brings us meaning, a sense of purpose or calling in what we're doing. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think younger generations in particular struggle with that. I think older generations maybe are finding out that they weren't quite as on track as they thought they were. And I think, honestly, the culture that we're in is making it harder and harder to find that thing, because we spend so much time chasing money and things like that, which is a need because cost of living is so high. And I think people have lost the ability even to, find calling or purpose in their life. So today, that's what I want to talk about. How can we go about finding our purpose or our calling? And I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in that. So I'm just going to give my opinion on how things have gone in my life and what I think can help people find their purpose and calling, and what I'm doing to try to find my purpose or calling. I think one thing that I've learned in my own life is that a lot of times you misunderstand what purpose or calling is. I remember as a young kid, I always thought your calling had to be a preacher or a music minister or a youth minister, because that was the only kind of calling I ever heard about, right? Are you called to ministry? I think as I got older, I thought, oh, okay, well, there must be some kind of job out there, some kind of thing that I can go and get involved in that will then be my purpose or calling. And I think the truth is that both of those are wrong in a lot of ways. I think your calling doesn't have to be some grand thing that you're doing, right? So we don't all need to be preachers or missionaries or people that run a homeless shelter or adopt kids, or whatever the case is, right? Whatever you see as your overarching mission, I don't think it has to be this enormous thing. And at the same time, I don't think it is this idea of this perfect job that's going to bring together your ability to earn money along with all of your passions in life. I think your purpose or your calling can be something else entirely. I think really purpose and calling, I actually think it's more about like what you contribute to society, to people, to those around you, rather than it is, a career or some kind of function that you do, right? So we're all going to have a job. We're all going to have roles in life. But I think it's what we bring to the world. That's what our purpose or our calling is. I heard once that someone said, I don't remember who this was, so I don't know who to credit, but it wasn't me. But they said that, calling or purpose, it's not like the treasure at the end of a journey, right? Your purpose or your calling is actually the compass that you use to help you get to the treasure, right? Meaning that, your career is not going to be your calling or your purpose, but it's what's guiding you into those career decisions. That's your calling or your purpose. And ultimately, whatever outcomes come at the end of that, that may be completely out of your hands, right? You might not have anything to say about that or anything to do about that. But you just live your day out every single day chasing your calling or your purpose, right? So, for a lot of people, that's, faith. It could be your family. It could be a passion for helping people. It could be, the homeless community. It could be children. It could be healthcare. It could, maybe you're really into the environment or to wildlife, right? Whatever it is, right? That's kind of your purpose or your calling. And then that's going to, of course, lead you into certain career paths. And then, you're going to fulfill that purpose and calling through that. And then in terms of finding what that purpose is, I think a lot of people get lost in that. But I think that really, I think it's the things that have the biggest impact on your life. Those are the things where you're going to find your purpose and your calling. What hurts the most in life? What brings you the most pain, the most joy, the most satisfaction? I think it's those things that take you to the extremes of your emotions. That's somewhere where your calling is, right? So, for me, it's faith and family. I always bring those up because those are my calling, my purpose, my mission in life are those things, right? I mean, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, right? And at the same time, I believe that I'm called as a husband and a father to live and to do things a certain way. And so I do. I try to do the best that I can at work. I try to advance at work. I want to make as much money as possible, but only insofar as it benefits my family. If I start working at a job where, yes, I'm making a lot of money, but they're wanting me to work late in the evenings, I'm missing my kids' soccer games, I'm not there to see my wife at night, and I'm grumpy and irritated, then that ain't my calling. That's not my purpose, right? That goes against what I'm after. And so, for me, that's my guiding light. So what is it for you, right? For some of you, maybe it is faith, maybe it is family. Others, maybe you're single, you're just starting out, maybe your purpose or your calling is something completely different, And I think purpose and calling changes, right? It's not like you're born with one purpose, one calling. I think we all have a lot of roles to play in life, and you can find purpose and calling and mission and meaning in all of those things. I think one thing that we all need to do is to stop waiting and take action. That's the one piece of advice that if I could go back and talk to younger me, that's what I would say. I very much always was looking for purpose and calling. And a lot of times that ended up looking like me waiting around for something to happen, for something to show up, for there to be some kind of sign as to what I should be doing in life. And ultimately, when you start doing that, you end up waiting more than you actually end up doing anything with your life. Maybe you don't know your purpose, you don't know your calling, but once you get out there and you start going, maybe you find it somewhere. One way that you can just get out there and start is to just try things. We've volunteered at homeless shelters a lot. When I was younger, I did it for sure. We've gone out and fed the homeless since then. We've done a lot of different things. I've worked in government, doing contracting work. I've worked at a hospital. I've worked, in retail. And, some of them you find a lot of purpose and meaning. Some of them you realize, what? I don't like that at all. I'm not going to ever do that again. But I think you got to get out there and you got to try those things and hope that you find some purpose or some calling out there. But again, see what you love to do. What hurts you the most? What gives you the most joy? And then are there things out there that you can do in that vein? I think one of the best things that you can do is to look for those things, those outliers in life, the passions, the joys, the love, and then gifts, right? What do you have a gift of, right? If you love making people happy and you simultaneously are great at comedy, maybe you should be a comedian. If you want to help people and you also are very gifted with your hands, right? Like the Gifted Hands book. Maybe you should be a doctor. Maybe you should be a musician, right? You can bring joy through music. Whatever it is, what are you gifted at? And then where do your passions intersect? And then, that might be a good indicator of where you should head when you look for, your calling in life. And I think the last thing, and I already kind of mentioned this, but that I think you have to understand that your calling changes over time. My calling today is not what it was back in the day. I think when you're younger, you can be more selfish and self-centered and focus on you and yourself. I think when you get older, you got more people that you're responsible for. Priorities change. There was a time where I was a career-first kind of person. Would always spend my time chasing down my career. And, and that even extended into when we had kids. And then, there just became a time one day where I realized, look, I'm never getting any of this time with these kids back. So if my kid is 4 years old, when he turns 5, I'm never getting 4 back. 4 is gone. So, it's just a perspective change, and that'll change as you grow, as you get older. So, as I'm getting into my 40s here soon, I just could not care less about some of the career things that I used to care about. I just don't care. If I have enough money to feed my family and we're all happy and healthy, you know, you can keep the rest. I don't care about it. But I didn't always feel that way. But I think it's okay to change the way you feel about things. So don't let the changes that you go through in life make you feel like you're derailing your plan or your purpose, right? Plan and purpose can change. So I hope this helps. I hope this encourages you. I hope that you do all find your passion, your purpose in life, your calling. I think that it's probably out there, easier to find than maybe you're making it. What are you passionate about? What are the things in life that bring you the most joy and the most devastation? What are your gifts? And where do all those things intersect? And don't think that just finding a passion or a calling means you're going to find the perfect job or the perfect scenario, right? It's the journey. What's guiding you down the path? That's your purpose or calling. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.